At 21:31 local time, something unusual lifts off from a dark stretch of highway near Ukraine's northern border. It's not loud enough to draw attention, not fast enough to look threatening, and yet within minutes dozens more follow. Across fields, frozen roads, and improvised launch points, a swarm begins to rise. On Russian radar screens, the sky suddenly fills with signals, large ones, moving fast enough to trigger alarms. To the operators watching those screens, it looks like the opening phase of a coordinated missile strike, the kind that demands an immediate response. There's no time to hesitate, no time to verify every signal. The doctrine is clear: engage the biggest threats first, and that's exactly what they do. Interceptors launch almost instantly, streaking toward targets that appear valuable, dangerous, and very real. But what those operators don't know, what they can't see, is that most of what they're tracking isn't what it seems. The swarm isn't just an attack, it's a setup. And by the time the first explosions light up the sky, the trap is already closing. What makes this attack so effective isn't speed or firepower, it's deception. Each of the leading drones carries a small, almost insignificant device mounted on its nose. It doesn't explode, it doesn't guide, and it doesn't defend. Instead, it reflects. This device manipulates radar signals, making a small, inexpensive drone appear much larger than it actually is. On radar, these drones don't look like lightweight machines made of foam and fiberglass. They look like cruise missiles. And that single illusion changes everything. Russian air defense systems, designed to prioritize high-value threats, react exactly as they were built to. Missiles are launched in rapid succession, each one costing hundreds of thousands, sometimes over $1 million. In just minutes, multiple interceptors are used to destroy targets that barely cost a fraction of that. The imbalance is staggering. Entire batteries begin to burn through their ammunition, chasing what appears to be a major attack. But the reality is far more calculated. The defenders are being forced into a decision they don't even realize they're making, wasting resources on targets that were never meant to matter. And while their focus remains locked on the illusion, something far more dangerous is already moving quietly behind it. While the skies light up with interceptions and radar screens stay crowded with false targets, a second wave begins its journey, almost completely ignored. These drones fly lower, slower, and far less noticeably. They don't stand out on radar. They don't trigger immediate panic, and that's exactly why they succeed. Unlike the decoys, these are built for one purpose: to reach deep into enemy territory and strike. They don't rely on speed or stealth in the traditional sense. Instead, they rely on being overlooked, hugging the terrain, staying beneath radar coverage, and blending into the environment. They move forward with little resistance. There are no pilots making adjustments, no evasive maneuvers, no real-time decisions. Just pre-programmed routes and simple navigation systems guiding them forward. While defenses are distracted by what appears to be the main threat, these drones quietly pass through gaps in coverage. By the time anyone realizes they exist, they are already hundreds of kilometers inside. The illusion has done its job. And now, the real operation begins to unfold, far beyond the reach of the chaos that made it possible. Eventually, the presence of these drones becomes impossible to ignore. The response shifts. Fighter jets are deployed, designed to intercept airborne threats quickly and efficiently. But what they encounter isn't what they were built for. These drones fly low, so low that radar systems struggle to distinguish them from the ground. Every building, every tree, every uneven patch of terrain creates interference. The pilots switch tactics, turning to infrared systems that track heat instead of shape. But even that becomes unreliable. The environment is full of heat signatures, vehicles, structures, even natural sources, all blending together into a confusing picture. Identifying a single small drone becomes incredibly difficult. To get a better view, pilots are forced to descend, slowing their aircraft to speeds that push the limits of control. The situation becomes dangerous. High-performance jets built for speed and altitude are now maneuvering at low levels in the dark, chasing targets that are hard to confirm and even harder to hit. Shots are fired, but accuracy suffers. Each attempt costs time, fuel, and increasing risk. And through it all, the drones continue forward, unaffected by the chaos behind them. What should have been a straightforward interception turns into a frustrating and costly struggle, one that highlights just how unprepared these systems are for this kind of threat. When physical interception proves unreliable, the strategy shifts again, this time into the invisible battlefield of electronic warfare. Instead of trying to destroy the drones directly, efforts focus on disrupting their ability to navigate. Powerful systems begin broadcasting interference across satellite frequencies, effectively drowning out GPS signals. For the drones, it's like losing their sense of direction entirely. Coordinates vanish, positioning fails, and for a moment it seems like the mission might collapse. But these drones were built with this possibility in mind. Instead of stopping, they switched to backup systems, internal sensors, preloaded maps, and visual tracking. They keep moving, even without external guidance. That's when the next layer of disruption is introduced. Rather than blocking signals, false ones are sent. Perfectly crafted, believable data that tells the drones they are somewhere they are not. Some of them accept this information without question, drifting off course and ultimately failing to reach their targets. It's a sophisticated tactic, and in some cases it works. But it's not flawless, because while some drones are misled, others begin to notice inconsistencies, subtle differences between what they see and what they're told. And that's where the balance begins to shift once again. Among the surviving drones, something unexpected happens. One of them compares its surroundings to the data it's receiving, and they don't match. The landscape below doesn't align with the coordinates it believes to be true. A river bends in the wrong direction. Landmarks appear where they shouldn't. Instead of blindly following the signal, the system makes a correction. It overrides the false data and adjusts its course. This moment is small, almost invisible in the larger operation, but its impact is significant. It means the drone isn't just following instructions, it's validating them. And that changes the dynamic entirely. Because now, electronic deception is no longer guaranteed to succeed. As long as visual references exist, the drone can correct itself, staying on track despite interference. However, this isn't a perfect solution. Environmental conditions like snow-covered terrain or low visibility can limit what the system can recognize. But in this case, it's enough. Enough to keep the drone moving in the right direction. Enough to ensure that at least some of them will reach their destination. And as they continue forward, the final phase of the operation begins to take shape. As the remaining drones approach their target, defenses are no longer caught off guard. This time they are ready. Systems are repositioned, angles are adjusted, and every available layer of defense is brought into play. Missiles, radar systems, and ground-based weapons are all focused on a single objective: stop anything that gets close. And at first, it works. Several drones are detected early and destroyed before they can advance further. Others are intercepted mid-flight, their missions ending in brief flashes of light. But the defense isn't perfect. The drones arrive from slightly different paths, some shifted off course by earlier interference. That unpredictability creates gaps, small ones but enough. A few drones slip through the outer defenses. As they get closer, the response becomes more desperate. Ground units open fire, relying on heavy machine guns and rapid bursts to bring down targets moving just above the horizon. It's a stark contrast. Modern missile systems backed by older, simpler weapons, all working together to stop something relatively basic. Some drones fall, others don't. And with each one that survives, the margin for error disappears, because now the distance to the target is measured in seconds. In the final moments, there are no more adjustments, no more corrections, only impact. The first drone reaches its target and detonates, followed closely by another. Explosions ripple through the area, igniting fires that spread quickly. What was once a carefully defended facility is now dealing with the consequences of a threat that was never supposed to get this far. The damage isn't just physical, it's strategic. because this attack demonstrates something far more important than a successful strike. It reveals a shift in how modern warfare operates. Expensive systems, designed to counter advanced threats, can be overwhelmed or misled by simpler, cheaper tools used creatively. The imbalance between cost and effectiveness becomes impossible to ignore. Millions spent defending against thousands. Complex systems reacting to basic tricks. And in the end, the outcome isn't determined by who has the most powerful weapons, but by who forces the other side to use them at the wrong time, in the wrong way. This wasn't just an attack, it was a lesson, and it's one that will shape every similar conflict moving forward.